So you want to buy your first investment property, but you don't know where to start? Well, you found the right video, because I'm going to walk you through the exact step that I took to buy my first investment property here in Bryan and College Station, and you can do the same. In fact, by the end of the video, you will know the exact roadmap that you need to take to buy your first investment property and grow your wealth through real estate here in Bryan and College Station. And hang around to the end of the video, where I will actually have a bonus content, a client question that will further help educate you on your road to becoming a real estate investor. Guys, before we jump into the video, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Greg Schwartz. I'm a real estate agent and investor here in Aggieland. I purchased my first property back in 2018. My wife and I have been growing our portfolio ever since. Along the way, I've helped clients buy real estate, but I've also acted as a property manager where I had over 100 units in my portfolio, everything from single family houses all the way up to apartment complex. Today, I focus on helping clients grow their wealth through real estate in Bryan and College Station, and that's what this channel is all about. So if that's what you're looking to do, stay tuned, because this is going to be a good one. Your first step is to set your goals. You need to start with the end in mind. You need to know exactly what the goal is of your investment. You're going to put your hard-earned money to work, and it needs to produce something. Do you want it to be cash flow? Does it need to be cash flow now or cash flow later? Are you trying to create profit out of this property through equity? Are you going to be holding it for 6 months like a flip, or 60 years like a buy and hold investor? Your goals will determine what strategy you use, be it Airbnb, long-term buy and hold, or flipping. It will also dictate the market you invest in, be it an appreciating market or a cash flowing market. Part of your goal setting will also be how much money you're putting into the deal. That rolls us right into number 2, and that's to secure your financing. You see, it takes a lot of capital to buy real estate, but it doesn't always have to be your capital. That's right. You can use a bank to fund up to 80% of the value of the property, meaning you only put 20% down. You could also use creative strategies like owner financing, private money, hard money lending, or bring in a partner to cover the difference or all of the purchase price of the property. You could also do what a lot of my clients do, and it's called house hacking, where you live in the investment property. That gives you access to low down money loans like FHA and VA loans, where you're putting 5%, 3.5%, or for my veterans out there, my active duty military, zero money down when purchasing the house. The point is, you need to secure your financing so you know exactly how much money you have to buy your first investment property, because of course that will dictate where you can buy, which brings us to step number 3, research or market. Now that you've set a budget, you know how much you can spend, that will dictate where you can buy. Of course, California is more expensive than Texas, but it's more than that. When you're researching the market, you want to look at things like population growth, strength of the economy, purchase to rent price ratios, and whether or not an area is landlord friendly. There's a lot of metrics you can go into, but ultimately you're determining whether or not this market supports the goals you set in step number 1. Is it an appreciating market? Is it a cash flow market? Is it a short-term rental market? Guys, all of this will be determined by the goal that you set and the amount of money that you have, but ideally you will narrow down not just to the city you want, but to which neighborhoods you want to invest in. Once you've determined that, you can go do step number 4, and that's to find your local guide. Guys, this is my favorite step, because this is usually where I come in. You see, I'm a real estate agent here in Bryan and College Station, and I think of myself a little bit like a Sherpa, helping you scale Everest. That's right, the goal of a local guide should be to help you avoid risk and help you achieve your goal. And it doesn't have to be a real estate agent. You can have a local partner or a local mentor. The point is, you want to work with somebody who has experience in the specific strategy that you want to use. Be it fix and flip or Airbnbs, you want someone who knows the local area and knows that strategy, has walked the walk before. That will maximize your ROI because it will minimize the risks that you face along the way. Your local guide should also be able to provide you a lot of the finer details like rent rates, vacancy rates, maintenance expenses, property taxes, property management expenses, utility expenses, all of these numbers you're gonna use to do step number 5, and that's to analyze and then of course tour property. Guys, the point of step number 5 is for you to start gaining experience in that local market. You're gonna analyze and tour properties, analyze and tour properties, analyze and tour properties. In fact, you're gonna analyze every property twice. You see, you'll do initial analysis when you see the property on Zillow or Realtor.com, and then you're gonna tour the property. While you tour the property, you're gonna confirm some assumptions. Of course, your local guide will be there to help. You're gonna confirm things like rent rates and rehab costs. And then you're gonna take those numbers back to your calculator and you're gonna refine your calculation. I recommend you use calculators like those found on Bigger Pockets or the ones that I linked below. The point is that you're gonna run your analysis, tour properties, run your analysis. And the whole goal here is to determine what purchase price you're willing to pay for that property so that you, going back to step number 1, will reach your goals. Be careful though, because you don't want to get stuck in analysis paralysis. You see, a lot of people will spend years tour a property, analyze it, tour a property, analyze it. They don't even make offers. And the problem is that they're scared. I think they're scared because they're running analysis with numbers that are way too conservative. And if you're conservative on every single number you put into the calculator, rent rates, vacancy rates, maintenance expenses, then ultimately you'll turn a great deal into a dud. So be careful of analysis paralysis because you'll spend years there, years worth of appreciation that you'll never get to realize because you never purchased a property. But if you do it right, you should come up with a number that you're willing to buy the property at, which means you're ready to make an offer. Which brings us to step number 6, where we are ready to make an offer on a property and negotiate the deal. Before we jump into the step, I want you to know something. I want to set expectations up front. You probably won't get the first house that you offer on. You probably won't get your first offer accepted. Guys, this is a numbers game. You're gonna make a lot of offers on a lot of properties, so set that as your baseline. When you're making these offers, what I recommend is know the maximum price that you're willing to pay for a house, and then start a little bit below that so you have some room for negotiations. And know that there's more than just price that goes into negotiations. Things like how quickly you can close, whether or not you're pre-qualified, whether or not you're willing to put more money down as an earnest money deposit, whether or not you're willing to shorten your option period or waive contingencies, are all things that will make your offer stronger or weaker in the eyes of the seller. Ultimately, you want to make the strongest offer that you can make given your buying criteria so that you can ultimately reach the goals you're trying to reach. If the seller counters and you get into a little bit of back and forth, make sure you're not chasing the deal. I don't want you to chase the deal over the maximum price you're willing to pay. But if you do come to a win-win, then now you are under contract and you are ready for step number 7, and there's due diligence and closing on the deal. Guys, this is so close to that finish line. You have one major hurdle left, and that's the inspection. You see, during due diligence, we're gonna send inspectors into the house. General inspectors, HVAC inspectors, electricians and plumbers and roofers and foundation specialists. And they're gonna make sure, they're gonna confirm that that property is what you thought it was. Because we put a lot of assumptions into our calculator. We assumed renovation costs. We already knew the roof was old, we planned on replacing it, but maybe you didn't realize there was a slow leak under the foundation. That's what the inspectors are there to determine. Those inspectors will give you all the information you need to renegotiate, if necessary, with the seller. But there's more than just inspecting the property, because if you're an investor, you might be buying a property that has tenants in it already. If there are tenants in place here in Texas and you buy that property, you inherit those tenants and those leases. So I want you to look over those leases very carefully, know all the details of that specific lease. Also look over the tenants. Have they been paying on time? You should be able to get a tenant ledger. If you can get your hands on their original application, you can know things like their credit score, how much money they make, all the important things that let you know whether or not this is a good tenant or a problem tenant. Because I'll be honest with you, a problem tenant is way more expensive in eviction cost, lost rent, and rehab on the backside than a problem AC. I'll take a problem AC all day over a problem tenant. All that's left is to loosen up your wrist and start signing your name 1, 2, 30,000 times, because it's closing day and you're ready to close on your first ever investment property. Congratulations. Now the work begins. Because remember, you probably have some renovations to do. You probably have to fill a vacancy. You have to manage that property after the fact. But the good news is now you own the property and you're growing your wealth. That's a huge step, a huge move towards becoming wealthy through real estate in Bryan and College Station. As I mentioned, I would love to be your Sherpa. I would love to help you through this process and then beyond, help you lease out the property and help you manage it. All my contact information is in the description below. Hopefully you remember that I have some bonus content for you. I would like to answer a client-based question for you for the bonus content. And this is a question I get usually before we even start these 7 steps. And that's when an investor will ask me, hey Greg, how much does it cost to invest in Bryan and College Station? Well, let's assume that you're bringing your own capital to the deal. Because of course, if you have a partner, you can bring less. And let's assume that we're not going to use creative financing, because again, there's strategies where you can put less money down, but most investors are putting 20 to 25% down. Our median price point is $300,000, so you can expect $60,000 down. Plus your closing cost, around $10,000. Plus I recommend that you have reserve fund of around $5,000. This is assuming there's no rehab. So to buy a turnkey property here in Bryan and College Station, you're probably looking at around $75,000. But if you're willing to live in the investment property, if you're willing to house hack that property, make it your primary residence, maybe buy a duplex, rent out the other side, buy a house, rent out the bedrooms, whatever, you can use a low down payment loan, low down conventional 5%, FHA 3.5%, or for my veterans and active duty military, VA loan 0 down. So 5% on $300,000 is $15,000 plus $10,000 in closing costs plus your $5,000 reserve. You're talking about $30,000, way less than the $75,000. So to answer the question, somewhere between $30,000 and $75,000 is what you will need to buy your first investment property here in Bryan and College Station. Guys, I hope that helps you out. I hope that you've already liked this video. I know you've already subscribed to this channel, and I only ask one more thing of you. And that is until next week, when I drop my next video, I hope that you take it easy.